Hello, good evening, everyone. Yeah, hi, Shiful, Sahir. Yeah, as usual, the others are going to be jumping in as we're moving on. Okay. So, how are you doing? That's good. Good evening, Sada, too. So, how are you doing? Okay, that's good. Shiful. I hope I got it right. Name sounds pretty good. Okay, Sada, good to hear that. Um, I hope everyone had the chance to go through the case. Is there anyone who didn't have a copy of the case? Oh, Sada too. I'm good. I'm good. I'm doing good. It's fine. So is there anyone who didn't have the chance to go through the case, or anyone who didn't get the case at all? Because I delivered the case to, yeah, Prabha, good evening. How are you doing? Yeah, that's cool. Because I gave the case to the coordinator on Monday as promised. I told you that I was going to get the case ready before 12 midday. I don't know if you got it on Monday or before midday or after midday, but I suppose that everyone had a copy of the case on Monday. And I gave you the email ID of the coordinator as well. In case you couldn't have a copy of it, you could drop an email and request for a copy. And then I gave a question last week. We were going to look at that anyway. I said we should come up with a marketing plan. And did anybody have the time to go through it to come up with a marketing plan? Especially those who are specialized in marketing. However, marketing is part of every organization. So whether you're a marketing manager or you're just an administrator or a different manager, a branch manager or so, you should understand much about marketing, because without marketing, the organization stands a chance not to survive. So if you're a manager, you should be, or a high level manager, you should be able to control what the marketing department is doing. The marketing manager can come up with a plan, and then that plan is submitted to you, and then you go through it. If you think the plan is good, like what's happening in the case, then you can approve it, or you can turn it down and then give reasons why you're turning it down. So marketing is a compulsory part of business and administration and management. That is why we're taking it. But again, it's better for students who are specialized in MBA in marketing to keep a very close eye on it. There is an assignment I have for you. You can as well discuss it with the other teachers who are teaching you marketing. And if they've started anyway, I don't know. I have not checked through the schedules of the other teachers. But if there is anyone who is taking it, I'm going to verify that after the class. You should keep a close eye on it. You can look at it. Every information you need is available on the case. You can come up with a marketing plan. So you start learning how to design a marketing plan. Okay, that's set and done. That was the assignment I gave. Did anybody have time to go through it, to come up with a plan? That's definitely not what we're going to be talking about today, but it's important you try your hand on it. You can go over the internet, you can do a lot of search, go to Google, you can see sample marketing plan, and then you can also look at marketing projection, and that's going to help you, I suppose. If you have questions after going through all these free materials on the internet, then we are there. The whole team of faculty members are there to help you answer some of these questions. Okay. Okay. Hi, Mohammed. Okay. The question I want us to go through today in this session is, what factors determine demand for toothbrushes? How can this demand be increased based on the case scenario? There are lots of information we have from the case. So I want you to tell me, what are the factors that determine demand for toothbrushes and how this demand can increase? So the floor is up to you. If you feel burning inside, you want to speak out, audio, you can raise your hand and I'm going to give you access to it. But again, the chat box and the chat area is preferable, so everybody can see it. Those who might have a little bit of difficulties understanding can see what you're typing, and then they can read it over and over and over again. So, what are the factors that determine the demand for toothbrush in India based on the case? Maybe I should give you a hint before you start listing out those factors. So there are this question I've decided to split into different parts. So the first part is demand for toothbrush. So what are these demands? The first thing I said, this is a factor. This is a function of both environmental factors and of marketing efforts of Cottle Taylor. So it's competitors and the Indian Dental Association. So these are the three main functional areas that determine the demand for toothbrushes in India. Now you start listing the different factors. But again, all the factors are a function of these three things. The environment, thing 4, the environment, the marketing efforts of Cottle Taylor, competitors who are existing in the market, and the Indian Dental Association. So now, what are the demands, the factors anyway? Okay, Prabha says affordable price. Perfect, that's great. Prabha, very correct. It's one of the factors. Great. If it's not affordable, people are not going to be able to buy it. Yeah, I'm waiting. Lots of those factors are there. So if you can identify these factors, then you can be able to manage a business in India. You can be able to think strategically and based on the factors we're going to list here. So Prabha's given one of them, advertising and promotions. Okay, that's correct. Another factor. This is on the part of Cottle Taylor. Advertising and hey, there are other guys, not Prabha alone. Let me take my video away so I don't get distracted, so we can concentrate on the question. And Okay, there you go. Yeah, I'm waiting for those points to come up. The factors that determine demand for toothbrushes. Look around you. It's there all over in the case. So many of them. Okay, let's see. Say idea and campaigns of oral health care. Yeah, that's part of the campaign. That's true. That's not a major factor anyway. You've already talked about advertising and promotional. So campaigns from idea, that's also a tool. But I want to also look deeper. I have a lot of them with me, but I'm not going to show them to you because I want you to think about it. Factors that determine the demand for toothbrushes, and how can this demand be increased? How can this be increased? Rahul says Indians are not aware of the tooth problems. Rahul, do you think that is true? I think in the case says they are aware, but they are associated not to poor dental hygiene, but rather to poor feeding. Is that correct? Did anybody read exactly what I just said in the case? They associate their tooth problem to perfect, Sada, too. That is disposable income. Perfect. I've had three very, very strong factors. Disposable income. Because if they don't have the disposable income, how would they buy the toothbrushes? Yeah, interest in Western lifestyle. That's true. Very true. Yeah, Anish, that's okay. The question is on the screen. What factors determine demand for toothbrushes in India based on the case everyone went through, I suppose? And how can these demand be increased? How can we increase it? The first thing is we need to identify what these factors are. And then the next thing is how can we use these factors to increase demand? And I've had very interesting points from Sada too, from Prabha, and Rahul's also trying to say something. I think he needs to pour in a little bit on it, twist it a little bit, and it's going to give something else. Maybe this is a job interview. No one knows. Now you need to treat the session as if it were your last. Now you need to participate as if okay, that's good, Prabha, urbanization, that's perfect. Another point. Awareness on oral hygiene. Yeah, that is part of the campaign by Cotel Taylor and IDA. You need to participate as if a company has to watch this session, this video. From your participation, do you think you can be recruited as a sales executive or a sales manager or manager in general? You have to look at it from this angle as well. Opportunities come from very, very unpredictable angles. So that's just an input to that. Okay, so I would say it means if people are aware of the impact, they will demand more. Okay? So that awareness is supposed to be there. That's good. There are so many factors, guys. Come on. Okay, one of the factors, availability of substitutes. This is a factor that affects demand. If there are available substitutes, then people might go in for a substitute product rather than for what Cottle Taylor is offering. So this is a factor. If there are more substitutes available in the market, that is going to affect the demand for toothbrushes. Anisha's, yeah, like Coke is substitute for Pepsi. That's perfect. In the toothbrush I don't know, section of this company, or in the toothbrush industry, if I can put it that way in a very huge terminology, there are different companies that sell toothbrushes, isn't it? You get different brands. So if you go for this one, another one is available. And we talked of a substitute. In this case of India, what is the substitute? There is tooth powder, perfect. What again? There are many, guys. Come on. There is, I think so many just came in now. Let me take it one after another. Okay, there is demand can be increased by anything other than price. Okay. Prabha says good for cost data to catch up the market at the right time. And Anisha's, if price increases, then quantity demanded will decrease. Well, that's very basic. That's very true. That's basic demand supply rule. Good. Sadatu says the name twig. That's a good substitute. We see everywhere in the case. Black salt, charcoal. Yeah, these are all substitutes. I'm happy at least we got the ash as well. Okay, the next factor which I have, understanding and acceptability of daily or weekly brushing habit. This is where Sadatu and I don't know, someone else said something about educating or campaign, the IDA and Cottle Taylor. Anyway, this is the campaign. Okay, Prabha, good. But if the people can have that awareness, they can understand and they accept that they have to brush daily and weekly, then that's going to raise demand as well. That's very good. The next point, Rahul is saying something. People are not concerned about oral hygiene. Can somebody say something to what Rahul just said? So Neil Francis says teach them. That's perfect. That's great. Part of the campaign is to teach the people. Show the ads. You can teach them through the ads and, you know. And Rashid says awareness of disease, I believe, that come from as a result of unclean or unhygienic teeth. Okay, we have urbanization. Somebody talked about urbanization. I don't know if somebody mentioned urbanization. Yeah, people are moving from rural areas and they're going to the urban areas and they want to live, you know, like people in the city. That is also going to boost demand. So the more people leave rural areas, the villages, and move to urban cities, that is also going to affect demand for toothbrushes. The next is awareness of health risk associated with poor oral hygiene. Somebody talked about this. Who said that? Somebody talked about awareness. Okay, so this is it. They need to know the health risk associated with poor oral hygiene. I talked about this just a couple of seconds ago. And is there anybody who wants to continue with the factors? I have a lot of them there. So, but I want you to try and add a couple of them. Anybody wants to add something? Again, look at the question. What factors determine demand for toothbrushes? And how can this demand be increased? Yeah, you can chat among yourselves. That's very acceptable. Okay, the next is adoption of Western personal care practice. The more people try to adopt a Western personal care practice, the more they're going to buy toothbrushes. And the next is disposable income. Somebody talked about that. Which was that? Prabha? Was it you? Yeah, which is very important. If the disposable income is not there, then the people cannot spend it. So disposable income is available income to purchase, to buy things. So if there is no disposable income, then it's going to be difficult and hard for people to buy services. Advertising, sales, and promotion. That's true. So access to clean water is also an issue, because there is no need for people to buy toothbrushes and use dirty water to brush their teeth. They only use the brushes to force the dirt of the water within, between the teeth, and it's going to cause more damage. Availability of product. The products have to be available. You talked about advertising, sales, and promotion. These products have to be available everywhere. Not that the people are going to watch it on television. It's wonderful. They love it, but it's not available. So the product has to be available as well. Very little qualified dentists. Yeah, that's true, Rahul. There are few qualified dentists because they're getting out of India to work especially because of the benefits, salary, and stuff like that. And then even the few in India, at that time, 2009 or so, they prefer to work in big cities, where I think the middle class can spend more. The next is affordable pricing. Now, the products can be available, but if the price, like somebody talked about it, the price, who said about price? Somebody said something about price. So affordable pricing is important. Okay, that was proper. Proper, you're saying everything. Well, that's very good. Anyway, I really appreciate it. So affordable pricing is important, so the people can be able to buy it. The next is advertising and promotion. I think Sadatu talked about it. Somebody, is this Sunil? Some other person, I think a couple of more people talked about advertising and promotion, which is also going to affect demand for toothbrushes. Now, those are the few that I was able to lay hands on. And now, the problem is toothbrushes sales depend on 3 levels. Again, the sales of toothbrush depend on 3 levels. The first is the number of brushes. The second, the frequency of brushing. And the third is the average number of brushes per toothbrush. Can somebody explain a little bit any of them? How do you think the number of brushes will affect the sale of toothbrush? Availability, yeah. The more it's available, the more the number of brushes come in. That's true. The more people use brushes, the more the demand for it. Good. So the number of brushes, the more people brush, the more they're going to demand it. That's true. For middle class, probably you said middle class. What do you mean by middle class? Anyway, I think while you're trying to put yourself together to say something about it, these are the three dependable variables or levels that affect the sales now increasing the first two and decreasing the third will raise primary demand for brushes. How many people agree with that? And how many people do not agree with it? If you agree with this, how is that possible? If you do not agree, why don't you agree? Sadatu says if people use their brushes more often, they are more likely to demand new ones because of the factor of wearing and tear. But that's true. The more you use the brush, the more they wear out, and then you have to buy a new one. So that's it. Frequency of brushing. That's correct. I think, yeah, that's tear. That is, I was just about to say, ask that question, what tear means, but I just understood intuitively. Number of time brushing in a day. That's good. That's a good factor. Frequency of brushing, the number of times you brush a day. Okay. So how is it, I made a statement here that increasing the first two and decreasing the third will raise primary demand for brushes. How is that true? Why do you think increasing the first two and decreasing the third will increase primary demand for toothbrush? Let's see what Schiffel says. Sometimes, 2 times. To brush? I don't get it. Okay. Yeah, if people brush 2 times, that is increasing the frequency of brushing. That's very true. Very correct. But why do you think this statement is good for marketing, especially for this product? You can see my mouse, right? Yeah, so why do you think this statement increasing the first two, that is the number of brushes and the frequency of brushing, and then decreasing the last one, the third? Why should decreasing the last one be of advantage to the sales department? You can't get the third point, Okay, maybe as we're moving on, somebody's going to definitely respond to it, because I believe that people are typing it. I know it's a challenge as well, but you're doing great anyway. Somebody's definitely going to post something on it, and then we're going to go back to analyze it. Now, the second criteria of major point, because I said the first question, I have it, that was the first one, number 1, to increase demand, what are the things we're supposed to do? Now, this is the third, persuading non-brushers to brush. If you succeed, this is the factor that can increase the demand for toothbrushes. You have to be able to persuade non-brushers to start brushing. And how can we do this? Very simple, right? How can we do this? Okay, Sadatu says, this is because getting more brushes means more demand for brushes, and increasing brushing frequency will also eventually lead to buying more brushes because they will get spoiled very easily. That's very, very true, Sadatu, very correct. Prabha says, word of mouth. Okay, that is how you can get more people to brush. That's true. Very, very true. Word of mouth is even more effective. There is Sunil says through ads and marketing. Perfect. Great. Sadatu says rather than waiting for 3 months for a buyer to use out his brush, the buyer and buy another one. So you're saying they can buy more brushes because the other one gets spoiled very fast, so they cannot even wait for 3 months to buy, another brush. That's true. Let's look at the next factor. You can persuade frequent brushers to brush more often and for longer period of time. Yeah, because the more often you brush, and the more you brush for a longer time, for example, about 2 minutes per brushing session, that leads to easy wear of the brush, and then you have to buy a new one. And let's see what Shiful says. Shiful says print and electronic media ads. That's very true. To get more people to buy. Very correct. Then the third is persuading brushers to reduce the number of brushing sessions per toothbrush. Maximum, according to the IDA, is 3 months. But how many people do you know that use their brush for 3 months or less than 3 months? The people you've come across, you've met, in terms of percentage, how many percentage of the people you've come across you think use their toothbrush within this requirement? 3 months maximum or less? Because this will greatly affect the demand for toothbrush. If people are going to use their toothbrushes for a longer period of time until it flattens completely, then it means the sales will go down because people stick longer with a particular toothbrush before they can look for a different one. Okay. I just brought in a consumption calculation or equation, and I'd like everybody to put it down. You can try it out yourself. It's a very, very vital tool. When you see people coming up with numbers, 1 million people toothbrushes are sold or whatever, how do they come up with these figures? Have you ever asked to study these kind of questions? There is a simple formula here that is going to help you to be able to calculate consumption in terms of toothbrush. This is just an example. Sarada says if you concentrate on the first 2 factors, it will lead to more demand even before the 3rd month comes around. That's very, very true, Sarada. Very true. And Prabha says only who knows about oral dental care, those only change within 3 months. That's true. That is why you have to do a lot of campaign, a lot of educational campaigns Like most of you have been saying, giving very good points about the ads, you know, TV and whatever media you use them to educate the people. Once they're educated, definitely demand will soar. Okay, let's look. Are you interested in my formula now? Well, not my formula. I'm not the one who devised the formula anyway, but I'm the one giving it now. So it is my formula per se. But I'm not claiming ownership of the formula. So it's not my genius that came up with it. So I cannot steal the property of someone else. Now, this is how you do the calculation. The total population of that area, if say the population of a particular city or a village is say 1 million. Now, percentage who brush. How many people, what is the percentage of people who brush? Is it 10%, 20%? Now, percentage who brush with store-bought brushes. Those who brush, some of them are going to use neem twig. They're going to use different kind of substitute, which we talked about earlier, right? But how many of them brush with store-bought brushes? They go to the store, they buy the brush. So you write that percentage here, and then the next you multiply by number of brushes or brush sessions per month. If these people brush maybe daily, twice a day, or is it, if it's twice a day, it means it's 14 times a week. And how many times a month? So you can do that mathematics and know the number of brush sessions per month. If they brush once a day, if they brush once a week, you know it's 4 times a month. So that number, you compute it here. You multiply by the number of sessions per brush. Now, every brush have a lifespan recommended. They're going to tell you this brush can brush maybe 100 times and then it's going to wear. Or this brush, you can use it for maybe 200 times or 300 times. It depends on the quality of the brush. So that is also important to give you an idea how long that particular brush can last for the user to purchase another one. So if you do this computing, the result would be brush sales per month. Is that okay? Is there any question on that formula? Please, I'd advise everyone to take it down. It's a very useful formula. Again, the total population multiplied by the percentage of people who brush. Now, this doesn't specify whether they brush with Western kind of toothbrush or they use the traditional way. Just the total percentage of people who brush multiplied by the percentage who brush with store-bought brushes. Now, this is the one like Cottle Taylor is using. You multiply by the number of brush sessions per month. If they use store-bought brush, how often do they brush? You start with, is it like from the case, we get the number of sessions per day, per week, and per month, and you can compute it as well. And then the number of sessions per brush. What is the lifespan of that brush? Can this brush be used for like 100 brushing sessions or 200 brushing sessions or 300? It depends as well. So if you compute all of that, it's going to give you an idea on the brush sales per month. Is this new information? Yeah, so this is going to help you. You can also devise another way for other products if you want to know. So if you're the sales, so this is going to give you an idea as a sales manager, or not only a sales manager, a manager itself in maybe a branch manager or a country manager. You can use this to have an idea of the sales per month. And if you have to go into manufacturing, you can try to manipulate The manipulation can only come at the number of sessions per brush. This is where you have control as a firm. But the rest doesn't depend on you, because the population doesn't depend on Cottle Taylor or the firm. The percentage you brush doesn't depend on you, except you do some extra, work. So this one, to an extent, it depends on you. You can try to bring more people to brush. The percentage you brush with store-bought brushes, if your campaign here is effective, you bring more people in to start using, to start brushing, or to see the importance of brushing, then more people definitely start buying brushes from stores. And then, again, from your campaign, the number of brush sessions per month, if you successfully carry out a good educational and awareness campaign, then the people are going to increase the number of brush sessions per month. And then the number of sessions per brush, if it's a very high quality brush that can last longer, it means people can use it way above 3 months. But even if the brush is still intact, even if the brush is still very good, it is advisable that after 3 months you change your brush. It is advisable that after 3 months you throw the old brush and you get a new one. Now the question I want to ask is, how many times should we brush a day? Rahul says 2. Amanat says 2. Anish 2. Sarati 2 at least. Sarati, you're being smart here. Prabha, minimum 2 times. You and Prabha, you're being smart. Sunil says, anytime you eat, good. Normally, you're supposed to brush after a meal. But because people don't walk with brushes in their bags and then they go to work and stuff like that, you're supposed to brush at least twice a day. Now, some people see, when you watch television, you see some people eat breakfast in bed even before they go out, and then they say, come on guys, how can you eat without brushing? You're supposed to brush after eating. Well, but again, what we usually do is we brush in the morning, and then we eat and eat and eat, and then in the evening we are supposed to brush last thing before we go to bed, because all the food we've eaten during the day, since we're supposed to brush after every meal, but again, it's difficult to put it in practice myself. I don't brush after every meal, to be very honest. I brush twice a day. I brush in the morning, and I brush last thing before I go to bed. So it's difficult for you to carry brushes around. You go to work, and then you keep brushing after a meal. So the last thing before we go to bed, when we brush off all the food that gets stuck between the teeth and stuff like that. So this is part of the campaign that we give to other people, not to you anyway. But again, it's beneficial to some of us, isn't it? Now, the question I want to ask is, please, this one, I'd like everybody to be very professional. You act like a manager, which you are already. Do you think Cottle Taylor is doing fine in India? How are they doing in India? Do you think they're doing fine? Do you think they're doing badly? Do you think they could do better? What is your assessment when you go through the case? Besides the projection and the new sales projection, what do you think? What is your assessment of this company? Again, I want to remind you that the real name of the company has been disguised. The name of the company is not Cottle Taylor. I mean, and those who are Indians, they already start asking a lot of questions, but what company is this? We don't know about this company. So the real name of the company has been disguised under the authority of the instruction of the company itself. They say don't disclose our name. You can write, the case was done and approved by the company, but they say don't talk about our name. So the name Cottle Taylor is not the real name of the company, but those who are very smart in India should be able to know what the company is. But that is not going to be part of our session. So do you think this company is doing good, doing well, or is doing bad? And how do you think the company can improve from the case? Anish says, well, I don't copy that. I don't get that. So, okay, Prabhu says business point of view, company has done with more revenue, but costs of brush was almost double. Okay, so Neil says company is doing good, but now they want to expand and grow their business. Okay, and he says, so this is the first time I'm hearing this company's name. Yeah, but that is why I said that is not the real name. So we don't have to talk about the real name of the company. Even if you're suspecting a particular company, we don't have to talk about this in this session because that is against the instruction of the company. Okay, Anish? You can guess about the company, but we don't talk about the name of the company because they said they shouldn't talk about them in any of the sessions. Asaratu says it shows they are not doing badly despite a few drop in some section, but they could do better, even better than the 25% growth that Patel envisioned. Okay, that's good analysis. Mohammed, okay, it's okay. So I want to get your point of view, your feedback. Do you think it's doing good? Because sometime before we join a company, before you work for a company, you do your own analysis, isn't it? You do your own analysis if the company is doing good. If the company is doing good, then you can join the company. Sometimes when you do your own analysis and you think the company isn't doing good, then you say, hey, man, I don't think this is a good place for me. So that is the kind of analysis I want you to do. Do you think a company is doing good? Let me modify the question again. Has Kotal enjoyed a first mover advantage? Because they're one of the firsts, isn't it, in India. Do you think they have really enjoyed that first mover advantage? Like first in the market advantage? Do you think they have enjoyed that? I'm all ears, guys. I'm all eyes. I'm waiting. Okay. So if you didn't get it, the question again, the question is, how is Kotal doing in India? That is the first part which we're trying to do, and you've tried to answer it. Now, the second part of the question is, has Kotal enjoyed a first mover advantage? You know, when you're first in the market, there is always an advantage. Do you think that Kotal has enjoyed that advantage of being the first to get into the market? Or one of the first, anyway, to get into the market? From the case. Now, when I look at my own analysis, Cottle has been able to build its toothbrush market share to 46% over 6-year period. That's pretty good, you know. It has been able to, with lower price and under-advertised brushes are available. But again, they are also losing ground, like Sadatu said. They can do better. Okay, Sadatu says they have just one more. Okay, any business wants more. Like okay, that's correct. That's true. Prabha says because already Chinese and Indian companies were selling brushes that time. Yeah, that's true. And that made up about how many percentage of market share? The case talked about, if I remember very well, about 22%, isn't it? So they got the advantage of readily available raw material, which gave grounds for good standard price. Okay, and then Cottle has also established, you know, they have their production plant in India to take care of the demand. They are doing good and then they have a very good network, sales distribution organization plan. They have taken I think they have taken the opportunity in India seriously, because of the investment in their plans to be able to meet the rising demand. Now the problem is, like we talked about earlier, if demand increases and then the product is not available, it becomes an issue. But Cottle has done great. It has done well by opening plants that can produce the brushes in India. And again, to take advantage of the availability of raw material, like Sadatu just pointed out, which is very good. And raw materials are also very cheap. And the case tells us that sales of the Indian subsidiary reached $70 million in 2009. But again, that just represented only about 30% of Cottle's toothbrush sales in Greater Asia and Africa. Even though India is the second most populous country in the region after China. So they were able just to have 30% increase. So let me see what's another point. And again, Lang, he believes that the country, the 20% sales growth is too, let me say, conservative. They can do better, like I think Sadatu talked about it. It's too conservative, and he thinks it's possible to change it between 25 to 30% growth. That is achievable. He thinks that is achievable. An inexpensive manual toothbrush from China also appeals to first-time brushers. And then the price is also a great factor. But again, Cottle reduced their price at some point, got the market, but now they want to increase it. So I think Cottle is actually not doing bad, but again, they want to do better, like what Sadatu said. So the question I'm going to give as a take-home assignment, you can send your response to my email. Again, everyone has my email ID, I suppose, don't you? My email ID is jude@iimts.com. That's my email ID. Oh, okay, Francis just sent it. Perfect. So you can send your response to a marketing plan, and you project your marketing plan with the finance, with the percentage, the money. Let's see what's going to come in. You come up with a marketing plan. I know it's going to be a bit weird for some people, but it's important. If you live together somewhere, if any of you live in the same neighborhood, you can take it as an opportunity for you to meet and work as a group. That's fine, but you can also share your email IDs together and work as a group. Even at a distance, you share your ideas, come up with a marketing plan and a projection. Say by 2016 or not 2016, not now, based on the case, let's say we're in 2010, by 2012, what do you think would be the projection and what is the plan? So you can work it out together among yourselves. You can share your IDs. I don't know how you're going to do that, but you can invite other people in the chat box here. If you want to work with somebody, just write the person's name and ask the person to share their information with you, and then you can work as a group even from a distance, and then you see how you can come up with a good marketing plan. That said and done, I think I've to an extent achieved what I wanted to put across today. How to calculate the sales per month, and we've seen that formula, and the factors that affect demand of toothbrushes, we've seen lots of them, and how we can increase the demand. We've seen a couple of things. You have to persuade people to brush, try to increase the number of brushes and persuade people to brush more frequently, more often, and other aspects we've seen as well. And we've seen three things that can, if I go back, levels that can help in the sales of toothbrush: the number of brushes, the frequency of brushing, and the average number of brushes per toothbrush. I know it sounds a bit weird, but there are instances where more than one person use the same toothbrush. So that should really be discontinued. It's not a good thing. This happens in many places. People don't want to use toothbrushes. I think even in Cameroon, my homeland, you still see these kind of things happening. So they are almost everywhere. People don't want to brush with the toothbrush. They want to use the traditional method of brushing. But again, we're looking at it from a marketing perspective. So this is not about India alone. We're just using India because there is a case available. In most developing countries, even in some developed countries, people don't want to use toothbrushes. They don't want to brush their teeth. But again, the number is very less in developed countries. Very less. So that is why we don't have this kind of a lot of problems like we have in developing countries. But again, we're looking at it not from a country point of view. We're looking at it from a purely marketing and business point of view. So this way of analysis will help you if you go into a new market. First of all, you study the market, you look at what is happening, collect your data, do your marketing survey, and then you come up with a plan. I hope the session was good. I hope we've learned something new, and I hope you liked it anyway. So if you have any other questions, I'll take it now. We're almost done. Okay, if no questions, thanks guys. And I'm not sure we're going to have a session on Saturday and Sunday because it's holiday. Okay, there you go.